Welcome to another Car Stories video. This one's a little bit different. It's actually on my car. I've been meaning to do this. I've sort of had this car for nearly a year and a half, just over a year. I got it August 23, so yeah, and it's now December 24. And I've done quite a few things to it. Nothing drastic, but just a little bit of OEM plus type improvement. So I'm going to go for a little drive. I have a little walk around the car, and I'm just going to do some 0 to 100 kilometer launches. I did it a while ago and I was getting close to 5 seconds, which is pretty incredible really for a 320D. So yeah, stay tuned. So as far as owning an F31 320D goes, I love it. It's my first diesel car. My last BMW was an E61 with a 6-cylinder petrol engine in it, non-turbo. Of course, this is the diesel turbo. It's a practical car. I'm an artist amongst other things, so it's very useful for me for throwing paintings in the back to take to people and to take to galleries, etc. I love wagons. I just think they've got an element of cool which is often overlooked, especially not that this is a performance wagon, but it does go really well now, especially with the improvements I've made. One of the first things I did when I bought this car, I noticed that the shocks weren't very good. The car had done about 130,000 Ks when I bought it, and I didn't like the ride height either. So I thought, well, I didn't have a big budget, but I thought I'll put adjustable coilovers on. So I went for an entry-level coilover, really, XYZ, and they're actually really not too bad. In fact, they're pretty good, and since I've been talking to other people, I've come across more and more people that have used XYZ coilovers for both street and track use. I've got them set to a very soft setting, and so they've still got plenty of good handling qualities as well as comfort. So yeah, not a bad first improvement made to this car. Another improvement, I guess you could call it, I made was by installing XHP transmission tune, or flash tune the transmission. It works really well with the 8-speed ZF. I'll pop it into sports and you can just see what it does as it goes through the gear changes. So you can use kick down really effectively to change gear if you don't want to use your pedals. And the harder you pump your accelerator for kick down, the more aggressive it is. So when you install XHP, it shows all your gears, including when you're in drive, on your instrument cluster. Cyclist. So obviously you can use your paddles as well, and the gear change is just instant, so quick. So you can go through and make incremental changes. It's all done via an app and a dongle that you plug into your OBD2 port, and you can tune your transmission to your heart's content. Yeah, the gear change is just instant. I've got this set up perfectly now for the next mod, which I'll talk about, that I got on this car, which was taking it to ALT tuning in Taupo, and ALT are becoming more and more available through different mechanics and service shops, etc. And so I got stage 1 tune done, and that marries up perfectly with the XHP transmission tune now. I've got it set up so when I'm in sports manual, it will hit the rev limiter and it won't change gear itself, just like in a manual, which is great. You just have to remember that you've done that, because if you forget and you start off somewhere in first gear, it'll hit the rev limiter, it just won't change. So it's a bit freaky when that happens. And it rev matches as well, which, whether that makes a big difference or not, I don't know, but it sounds cool.
1, 2, 3, and
It's not modified in the sense that anything I've done can't be easily undone. I've kept all the other parts that I've taken off, shocks and that sort of thing. So I deleted the rear muffler and had the twin exits made, and bought the rear diffuser. So that's a really neat and tidy stainless exhaust with a wide join, and sounds pretty good. It doesn't add a lot of volume, it just increases the raspiness a little bit. I found some style 351M 19-inch wheels. This car came with 18-inch wheels, which were really nice, but I just wanted to go up a size. So these were pretty banged up, and I had one of them welded, and I painted them myself, and I'm really happy with how they came up. So they're 8.5 and 9-inch wide by 19, and I've got Michelin PS5, which are brilliant tyres. I've had those several times now. I haven't really done anything body wise. I deleted a couple of things that had the wind deflectors on the tops of the windows, and it had those weird little plastic trims that they have over the wheel arches, so I got rid of those. Another thing, sorry it's a bit messy inside, I did a strut brace and K&N filter, which seems to be kind of mandatory. And the other thing I did, I talked about the coilovers already, so they're adjustable, and they do have camber adjustment on them, which is handy for getting things right. Back on there. And the other thing I did was put F80 M3 control arms on it, which have given it a lot more camber, as you can see, than you'd normally get, and a lot more caster too, actually. So it pushes the wheels forward a bit when you do that, when you make that change with the M3 control arms, lower control arms. So I actually changed the bushings on the thrust arms, which are adjustable to push the wheel back a little bit more. So the handling is actually exceptional. It just corners like a dream now, and when these cars come out of the factory, they're sort of known for being a little bit wobbly mid-corner. That's just gone, and with the coilovers and with it sitting at the height that it is now, it handles super well. As I mentioned, it's had the ALT engine tune, so stage 1, and no modifications are required for that. It's purely just increases torque and horsepower. So from factory, it's gained about 23% power, so it'll be around about I've estimated about 460 Newton meters of torque, which is super torquey, and that torque is just immediately available as soon as you put your foot down. It just hits go, so as soon as you're at about 1500 revs to 2000, you've just got instant torque. It's probably only about 230 horsepower, but you know, that's enough. This car's quite light, and the 2 litre diesel is a much lighter engine than the 3 litre. Sits nice and far back too, which is another thing I like. It's got that classic 50-50, well, pretty close anyway for a wagon, 50-50 weight distribution, because the engine is way back, you know, sitting behind the axle. The other thing I did was had Android Auto installed, which I had in my last car, and it's worth the money because it's just something that you use all the time. It gives me, obviously you've got your iDrive controller. I use maps all the time. It's frozen a couple of times on me, and I'm not quite sure why, but it's just a matter of when you stop the car and basically set off again, it restarts it and it works. So I use YouTube Music a lot, and it all obviously connects wirelessly through my Android device, or it can connect to your iPhone as well. So yeah, definitely a great mod. I think that's about it really. So overall, 320D, it's a 2012, so it must have been pretty much one of the first just about to come off the assembly line, I'd say. Very late 2012, and I think they were still making the E90 models that same year. I think that was the end of the line or end of the run for those. So for me, it was nice to jump from the E chassis to the F chassis and just have, you know, a few more modern things, but not too many. I think this is sort of getting toward the end of a golden era, the F chassis. They'd smoothed out a few of the electronics from the E chassis, so nowhere near as glitchy as what my E61 was in different areas. And to be honest, I haven't really had any issues with this car. The only thing I had go wrong, which was really bizarre, was the flywheel, or the equivalent to it, the flywheel with the gear ring, the two parts that are riveted together, separated, and made a hell of a racket. And I basically had just left home and stopped where I was and got towed to my mechanic and got that fixed, bought a second-hand one, and it's been fine since. So yeah, that was quite bizarre. And I had a wheel bearing wear out, which was a bit bizarre as well. So but who knows how this car's been driven in previous lives. I think I'm only the third owner. It's ex-Japan, brought into New Zealand, and it's now done 173,000 kilometers. So it's going really well. I haven't had the timing chain replaced, but I did have the tensioner replaced with the upgraded one, which is probably well worth doing. And it's just a matter of, with timing chains, everybody freaks out and gets them done preemptively, and then you just end up having to do it again in another 100,000 miles or whatever. You just keep your ears open and you'll hear the rattle. I've been told so many times you'll hear it. Very, very unlikely that it's just going to go. And you know, let's face it, a machine's a machine. Anything can break and cause catastrophic damage at any moment. So yeah, I've sort of learnt not to freak out about things. You know, sometimes until they happen. Some preventative maintenance things are worth doing, and some are a bit overhyped, to be honest. So anyway, we're going to go for a little drive to another area. This is not far from where I live. Beautiful part of the Bay of Plenty. And we're going to go to another beautiful part of, not far from where I live, so stay tuned. Alright, so I'll have a go at doing a launch. I won't switch off traction because I just don't like doing that, and I'm not quite sure how well this will work, but we'll give it a shot. Five seconds. We'll do another one. And ready. .3 seconds. So yeah, not too bad for the old 320D. It's got the best of all worlds, really. It's a wagon, it's diesel. If I'm just cruising, I can get pretty close to 1,000 kilometers out of a tank, and in New Zealand money, that will cost, with road user charges, that will cost about 170 New Zealand dollars for 1,000 kilometers. So there you go. I did 2 proper launches, and why there was a variation, I don't know. The first one felt really good, and that was 5 seconds from 0 to 100, which is pretty extraordinary, really. And the second one was 6 seconds. So, you know, even if you average those two at 5.5 seconds, that's pretty darn quick for what this car is. And you feel it too, like from the get-go. So much torque now. Yeah, like I say, I've worked out probably about 460 newton meters of torque. So, you know, that's good in a car that only weighs 1,600 kilos. This is not far from where I do a wetlands walk. Walk all the way down, and there's a river. Really cool walk in the Bay of Plenty. So there you go. There's my BMW F31 320D with stage 1 tune, XHP transmission tune, which I forgot to mention I've got on stage 3, M3 control arms, XYZ coilovers, wider wheels with Michelin PS5, and a few other bits and pieces that I've done to it. So yeah, thanks for watching another car stories video, this time on my car. And yeah, if you want to see more, then subscribe. And if you've got any questions about this car, or if you've got a F31 320D and you've done some modifications to it, drop a comment below, let me know. Or if you want to ask me anything about what I've done, do the same thing. And we'll see you in another video soon. Bye. The interior of this car is really nice. I didn't really talk about that. It's all trimmed with Alcantara. Really not sure what the hood lining is, but it's sort of this this needle punched finish. It doesn't feel overly plasticky in here, the handles were all sticky at the front, so I picked up some plastic clip-on bits from eBay, and they fixed that problem. Quite common apparently. Really great with the iDrive, and like I say, now I've got Android Auto. That's really about it. It hasn't got cruise control. It's got a limiter, so you can set your limiter that you know, for the speed that you don't want to go over. Yeah, it's a really comfortable car. Great. The sports seats are great with these bolsters, which are adjustable in my seat anyway, and the leg extenders, so they really hold you well. Real tidy steering wheel. Good design actually. I really like this wheel. The paddle shifters are a little bit plasticky. The one on the right, I think the person who owned this car before used to wear rings, and the one on the right here's got keeps getting little sharp bits on it. But you know, I don't really use them that much, to be honest, so they're fine.